the enablement to get this Windows 7 as soon as possible. It's not a huge CPU hit. If you consider that maybe I had 4 applications I want to run, well, I'm still only running 4 applications. Instead of them running on my Windows 7 box, I'm running them on this XP virtual machine. But the CPU workload is the same. The only real additional hit I'm taking is obviously the XP OS sucks up some CPU cycles. The virtualization layer sucks up some cycles, but it's actually not that bad. So, I mean, that's essentially why we have these technologies. And you don't have to, I should be very clear, you don't have to use XP mode with Windows Virtual PC. As I'll actually show you, I've got virtual machines running on it, one running Windows 7, one running Vista, one running XP. I've actually got one running Windows for Workgroups just for sick fun. So it's not only for XP mode. For example, you may have applications, let's say you are deploying 64-bit, and I have some applications that are 32-bit only. Well, I may deploy a Windows 7 virtual machine and run those 32-bit apps in there if for some reason they didn't work on the Windows 32-bit layer on the 64-bit OS. So WinVPC is really a hybrid of virtual PC, and it's got some elements of Hyper-V. It mainly is built on virtual PC. Specifically, the Hyper-V bit is a minimal set of the Hyper-V bus for USB devices. Now, I can only run 32-bit guests. Now, the supported guests really are XP, Vista, and 7. But end of the day, it will run other things. Like I say, I tried to go all the way back to DOS 6.2 and Windows for Workgroups, and it worked. So whereas Hyper-V wouldn't run Windows for Workgroups, this does. But it is only 32-bit guests. Because that's the goal. I was quite disappointed, and I was like, well, why can't I run 64-bit guests? I wanted to be able to run Windows Server 2008 R2 as a virtual machine and Exchange 2010, etc. But that's not really the primary goal of this thing. The primary goal is to facilitate adoption of Windows 7 by having an environment that we can run legacy apps and non-64-bit stuff in an environment. Now, the actual management of this Windows Virtual PC is very much integrated with the Windows 7 desktop. We don't really have a separate application to manage Windows Virtual PC. It's almost integrated with the browser, just with Explorer. We have full folder integration between the host and the guest operating system, so if enabled, I can go in and my documents link in the virtual will point to my documents on the host. I can do full clipboard sharing between the virtual and the guest, which is obviously saying I can't do in Hyper-V because you don't want to do it in Hyper-V. It's kind of a security issue at a server level. I can do drive sharing, printer redirection. So my default printer on my host will be my printer in my virtual. And again, it's kind of leveraging the remote desktop protocol to facilitate a lot of these sorts of technologies. USB support. So again, I've got support now for printers, scanners, webcams, and I'll actually demo that. And we have seamless applications. Now, this is the important part. And if you consider what we're saying here, we're saying, okay, we're going to Windows 7. All our user base is taking Windows 7. But as part of that adoption, they have to run a virtual PC running XP to run certain applications. Well, from a usability standpoint, that's a real issue. Users struggle enough adopting a new OS, let alone having a separate start bar and everything else for an XP virtual. So the applications actually seamlessly integrate with the Windows 7 desktop. So essentially what happens is, any application we install in the virtual machine, if we've enabled start menu integration, any application that's installed for all users, so that's the important part. When you install these applications, you need to make sure you select it's available for all users. And then any shortcut in the all user start menu gets integrated into the virtual PC start menu option. And you actually see the applications installed. So I installed Office 2003 in my XP, and I can actually now see it on the start menu. There's nothing, I didn't do anything manually. It has this detection code running in the virtual when you enable this integration, that any app that has a shortcut in the all user start menu gets added to the start menu of my host computer. When I launch the application, I only see the application window on my Windows 7 desktop. So again, borrowing a lot of technologies from what they were doing in sort of terminal services published applications, I don't get a full second desktop. I just see the application window. Same for notification tray icons. Any notification tray icons for that application will show in my local host notification. I don't get a second one. I do require the integration components, which are like the integration features for virtualization. And the only guests OSs that are supported for this seamless applications is XP SP3, Vista SP1, and Windows 7, and above, obviously. Network connections, so there isn't a separate network management pane. Essentially, we install Windows Virtual PC, and we have this new Virtual PC network filter driver. So any network card that has that enabled can actually be mapped through a virtual machine. Now, what I have on my machine, I have two NICs. So one of the NICs I don't have this enabled for, so that's just for my host traffic. And then the other NIC, I disable everything except the Virtual PC network driver. So that means all of the virtual machine traffic goes for a separate NIC. You don't have to do that at all. On your typical desktop, you're not going to do that. I'm really just doing that because I have two NICs in the machine, and might as well use one of them dedicated for the virtuals. But you do not have to do that. So Aero in a box, one of the cool things we can do that we couldn't actually do directly through Hyper-V is desktop composition is available. So if I install Windows 7 in a virtual PC, I install and enable the integration features and select an Aero theme, I can actually do Aero in my virtual machine. And again, this is kind of because behind the scenes, we're using a lot of the remote desktop protocol to accomplish this. And again, we can do desktop composition remoting with the new versions of RDP, which is what this hooks into. And again, I'll show this stuff. XP mode, to install it is simple. Basically, we just select where we want to install it to, what credentials we actually want to use for it. Gives us a little welcome dialog. We accept a license agreement and we're good. So, without that, let's actually just jump into a demo to actually walk through some of these things. So this is my just desktop. And you can see all the applications. Plants vs. Zombies is still running big time on my machine. So I have my start menu. And essentially from a management perspective, after I've installed the Windows Virtual PC, I get a Windows Virtual PC area here. And I can actually see I've created 3 virtual machines that have application integration enabled. So these are all the shortcuts I have for all users on my 3 virtual machines. So I could just click any of these and it would launch that application on my local menu. You can also see I actually just have Windows Virtual PC. So let's select that. And as you can see, when I select Windows Virtual PC, it actually just opens up this Virtual Machines folder under my profile. And it shows me all of my virtual machines that I have created. So I've created the XP mode, so that was when I installed the XP mode. I've created a Vista Virtual PC and a Windows 7 Virtual PC. And you may have actually noticed I've actually used this functionality already. I have to say it in a hushed voice, but I was using VMware. And the VMware vSphere client doesn't run under Windows 7 today. Well, I just installed it into the Vista Virtual, but it seamlessly runs in my environment through this. So that's how now I can just manage VMware